Since 1986, Qatar has funneled more than $11 billion into America's universities. On paper, it looks like generosity, but make no mistake, this isn't charity, it's a deliberate strategy. From funding Ivy League programs to establishing entire satellite campuses like Texas A&M in Doha, Qatari money has bought far more than classrooms and scholarships. It's bought influence, it's bought access, and in some cases, it's even secured ownership over sensitive research and intellectual property. And here's the alarming part. Much of this money was never disclosed to the American public, hidden in contracts and backroom agreements. What we're left with is a system where one of the world's wealthiest states has quietly embedded itself deep inside the U.S. education system, shaping what gets researched, what gets taught, and who holds the power. According to U.S. Department of Education data, Qatar isn't just another donor, it's the single largest foreign funder of American higher education. Since 1986, they've pumped billions into U.S. campuses, far outpacing any other nation. The scale is staggering. Georgetown University pulled in over $73 million in 2024 alone. Cornell has accepted more than $1.9 billion since 2001, transforming entire programs through Qatari-backed grants, and Texas A&M more than $1 billion in research funding, much of it tied directly to agreements with Doha. This isn't pocket change. It's a systematic campaign of influence, billions of dollars strategically deployed to embed Qatar deep inside the most respected institutions in America. Texas A&M's Qatar campus isn't just another overseas outpost, it's a direct pipeline of research flowing into Doha. Buried in the contract is a clause that should alarm every American. Qatar owns the entire right, title, and interest in all technology and intellectual property developed at TAMUQ. Think about that. Any discovery, any breakthrough, any piece of sensitive research produced there, even in fields like energy, engineering, and national defense, doesn't belong to Texas A&M or the United States. It belongs to the Qatari state. In other words, one of America's leading research universities has effectively handed over the keys to its innovation engine, giving a foreign government ownership of knowledge that could shape our economy, our security, and our future. Qatar's influence isn't limited to labs and research grants. It extends to the very stories our universities tell. When billions of dollars flow into higher education, they don't just build classrooms, they shape priorities. They influence what gets studied, what gets published, and just as importantly, what gets quietly ignored. ISGAP's reports reveal clear patterns. Qatari funding tied to Middle East studies programs, the creation of cultural centers, even subtle adjustments to curriculum. Over time, this money doesn't just fund education, it curates it. The result is generations of students, scholars, and future policymakers who engage with the Middle East through a lens that quietly favors Qatar and its allies. It's not overt propaganda. It's something far more effective: narrative capture. Here's the kicker. Much of this money was never disclosed at all. In 2019, the Department of Education uncovered billions in foreign funding that American universities had quietly failed to report, and Qatar was right at the center of it. That means the official numbers we see, the billions already documented, may only be the tip of the iceberg. The real total could be far higher, hidden in contracts, foundations, and back-channel agreements that never make it into the public record. In other words, the largest foreign funder of American education is also one of the least transparent, and that's by design. Why does this matter? Because universities aren't just schools, they're the engines of America's future. They shape the next generation of leaders, they drive the research that fuels our economy, and they produce the ideas that influence public policy. When a foreign government, one with documented ties to groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, becomes the primary funder of these institutions, it isn't just writing checks, it's buying leverage. It's embedding itself into the decision-making pipelines of American thought, research, and even national security. And that influence doesn't vanish when students graduate. It follows them into government, into boardrooms, into think tanks, quietly steering the way America sees the world and the way the world sees America. This isn't random generosity, it's part of a global strategy. Qatar doesn't just pour money into universities, it's buying influence everywhere it can. In media, Qatar bankrolls outlets like Al Jazeera to control narratives worldwide. In sports, it spent hundreds of billions to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup, leveraging the event as a global PR campaign. In politics, it's been linked to the Qatar Gate scandal in the European Union, where officials were accused of taking cash to push Doha's agenda. And here in America, that same playbook shows up in academia. Billions of dollars disguised as grants and partnerships, but functioning as investments in legitimacy, access, and control. The formula is simple: money for reputation, money for influence, money for power. The hidden cost is American independence. When our universities sell influence for billions, they don't just take foreign money, they trade away transparency, security, and trust. What should be sacred spaces of learning turn into pipelines for influence. Students walk into classrooms unaware they're part of a foreign-backed narrative. Professors produce research shaped, even subtly, by Qatari priorities. And policymakers, relying on that research, risk making decisions that advance Doha's agenda, not America's. This isn't just about academia, it's about national sovereignty. Because once control of knowledge slips away, control of policy, innovation, and even security follows right behind it. For decades, Qatar has spent billions quietly buying influence inside American academia. This isn't speculation, it's documented fact. And the real question isn't whether it matters, it's how much longer we're willing to let it happen unchecked, before the cost to our independence becomes irreversible.